we have a breaking update that no one is talking about the Epstein Files because, folks, we're on the verge of getting them, truthfully. It's been a wild ride. It's been several months of ongoing back and forth discussion about whether or not there will be enough votes in the House of Representatives to force a vote on the discharge petition to release the files. And in just a matter of weeks, we're going to have the votes. So you can breathe a sigh of relief. Here's what happened last night that literally no one is talking about. Arizona's 7th Congressional District had a special election. Earlier this year, Raul Grijalva, the congressman who represented that district, passed away tragically while in office. His daughter, Adelita Grijalva, last night won the special election in Arizona's 7th to keep that seat under Democratic control. Now, folks, that win is not surprising. Almost everyone in the political world knew that Adelita Grijalva would win this seat. It's a very deep blue seat in Arizona. It's one that's been held by her father for many years. And there was a major primary election, if you remember, Deja Fox, Daniel Hernandez, and Adelita Grijalva all competed in what turned out to be a three-way primary between the three, with Grijalva coming out on top. And while last night's victory was expected, it has a major impact on the Epstein Files. If you know anything about what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now, there is a discharge petition currently on the floor, a discharge petition that was brought forth by two members of Congress, a Republican and a Democrat. The Republican, Thomas Massie from Kentucky, and the Democrat, Ro Khanna, the Democrat from California. And well, this discharge petition, essentially what a discharge petition is, it forces Speaker Mike Johnson to make a vote of the full House on whatever the issue is in the discharge petition. In the House of Representatives, essentially, there is a rule that the only time a bill gets a vote on the House floor is if the Speaker of the House, who's almost always who's ever in the majority, the Republican or Democratic Speaker, puts it on the floor. So if Mike Johnson doesn't want a bill to be voted on, he doesn't have to bring it to a vote on the floor. And there are so many bills that are introduced every year that never see a vote on the full House floor because Speaker Johnson, for whatever reason, doesn't want it to have a full vote. That's not surprising, and that's not uncommon. Speaker Pelosi, when she was in office as Speaker, did the same thing for a number of bills. A number of Democratic bills never see the light of day in a Republican House. A number of Republican bills never see the light of day in a Democratic House. But there's a one workaround here, and that's what's called a discharge petition. A discharge petition essentially needs 218 signatures, a majority of the full House of Representatives. And if you get 218 signatures, almost always a bipartisan petition, then it'll force the Speaker's hand. And in this case, Speaker Mike Johnson would have to put forth a full vote of the House of Representatives, really whether or not he wants to do so. And so Ro Khanna, this Democrat, and Thomas Massie, this Republican, they introduced a discharge petition a couple months ago to release the Epstein Files, or rather to force a vote that would require the Department of Justice to then release the Epstein Files to the House of Representatives. Simple, right? It is. But the only issue for Massie and Khanna was that they were having trouble getting to 218. Because truthfully, most Republicans didn't want to sign on to this petition. They just didn't. They didn't want to support the facts, something that the White House has been really lobbying them against, right? The White House has a long time been saying, do not sign on to the discharge petition. We're not going to release the Epstein Files. And so many Republicans didn't sign on to it. Some have, Marjorie Taylor Greene has, Nancy Mace has, Thomas Massie has, and I believe one or two more have. But they were still shy of that 218th vote threshold. And so last night, they were at 217. This morning, they're at 217. But when Adelita Grijalva is sworn into Congress in just 2 weeks, they will likely reach 218. And that will trigger a full vote of the House of Representatives demanding the release of the Epstein Files and forcing the Department of Justice's hand, forcing the Trump administration's hand. And it's a very significant situation because Speaker Mike Johnson desperately did not want this discharge petition to reach 218 signatures, and it's going to reach 218 signatures. It's just a matter of time. Adelita Grijalva will be sworn in likely sometime between October 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere around that week. The moment she is sworn in, I guarantee you one of the first things that Democratic leadership will put forth before her on her desk is the discharge petition. She is expected to sign that petition, and they will get their 218 votes. And once that happens, it triggers something important. It triggers a vote of the full House of Representatives. And why is this important? Well, here's the thing. They have 218 signatures. Assuming all 218 of those members vote to force the DOJ to release the files, that's enough. That's a majority of the House. But it also puts pressure on Republicans across the country. Because remember, every Democrat has signed this petition, but not every Republican has. And it puts pressure on Republicans across the country to vote on whether or not they support releasing the Epstein files. And if they vote no, then it is something that they will have to answer to their voters about. And so they will be put on record, either release it or not. I guarantee you, while you may only have 218 signatures on this discharge petition, you're going to have a hell of a lot more Republicans have to vote yes on releasing the files just because they need the cover, because the voters are demanding it. And once that happens, well, then it'll be up to the Department of Justice to release the files to the House of Representatives. And if you want to think about, well, what are in the files, what's there, truly no one knows. But what we do know is that there are over 100,000 pages of Epstein-related files. Let that sink in, 100,000 pages. Now, the DOJ transmitted, about 33,000 pages to the House Oversight Committee. 33,000. That's about a third of what we know the DOJ actually has. And so it's the Department of Justice's responsibility to then release all of the files. And we're going to have significant battles between the public, the DOJ, Congress. I mean, you're going to get litigation. It's going to be a bit of a mess because I guarantee you what's going to end up happening is the DOJ is going to release some of the files, but they're going to be all redacted, blacked out. You're never going to see, essentially, a number of the names connected to Epstein. And there's going to be a significant back and forth between the House of Representatives and the DOJ. So it's not over yet. It's actually far from over. But nonetheless, it's still a major milestone in this fight for transparency, in this fight for truth, because I do want to remind you once again, this isn't about Donald Trump. And I barely mention him in this video because it's not about one person, one man. It's about a highly powerful network of individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein, whether Trump or otherwise, who may have knowledge that could help these survivors grieve and help these survivors really move on. They deserve the truth. They deserve answers. And they deserve, most importantly, justice. They deserve justice. So major update this morning. We're going to see what happens next. But at least right now, get ready for the Epstein files to be front and center once again, whether or not the White House wants them to. Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.